We chose the name Sorelle Farms because Sorelle is the Italian word for sisters. And we have 4 daughters, and Ed and I really wanted to build a business that is something wonderful to pass on to them.
Alrighty.
This all escalated quick, didn't
it? Most certainly.
I would love an introduction.
Alrighty. Well, I can start. My name's Ed Donnelly. This is my wife, Rachel. And we are the owners of Sorelle Farms and Bob Wells Nursery in Mineola, Texas.
I got a call or an email from you. I can't remember. It's been, 2 days, more than 2 days. I can't remember anything.
Sure.
But interest in carrying a hoop house. I knew the area, go through it quite a bit, and I was excited to kind of be working with a nursery because that's what I used to do. And we met. I think you guys came up here and toured it. I think we were bigger than what you imagined it to be. I'd like to talk about that impression because a lot of people want to come to like the factory or the warehouse, and it's a bunch of boxes kind of thing. So it's not like Willy Wonka's factory or anything like that. So I'd be interested in that. But over the last 3 weeks, I think we just really decided we want to work together. You guys have a beautiful farm. This is a podcast on YouTube, so if you're listening to this, maybe check over that and we'll show some footage. But there's a lot of interesting things, and I think over the next hour to 5 hours, no, just kidding, it'll be an hour. But we'll kind of unpack a lot of the stuff that you guys have going on. But yeah, that's how all this happened very quickly. Now I think we got a lot of stuff going, so here we are.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're both very excited about it.
So let's get into, who's responsible for the nursery? Whose bright idea was this to get all this going, and how'd you wind up to where you are?
I'm not sure if Rachel would use the term bright idea, maybe crazy lunatic idea, but about 8 to 10 years ago, I had been in the computer business for a long time. I was looking to make a change. We also wanted to get out of the Metroplex, out of the Dallas area. We lived in Frisco, and I said, let's start a tree farm. And so we moved out to Mineola in 2014. The short story is that we started growing primarily shade trees, landscape trees, things that people would put in their front yard. And it lacked a couple of things. Number one, it was hard to grow the business without investing more time, but I couldn't invest more time while working a full-time job. And really, it was just me doing it. The family wasn't nearly involved at the get-go, although they helped quite a bit. And in 2018, we were approached about buying Bob Wells Nursery, whose family's been in the Lindale area farming and selling produce and growing edibles since the 40s, about acquiring that business. And we made the business decision to go ahead and do that. It allowed me to leave the computer business and join the nursery business full time. It's also been great because it's allowed Rachel to be involved, our daughters to be involved. Many of our employees are family friends and their children. And so it's more of the type of business that we wanted in terms of making it a family run business, not just a business.
And it wasn't solely a business decision. Once we moved to Mineola, we started planting fruit trees, and we started a garden, and we started raising our own meat with pigs, and we have horses and chickens and all that good stuff. So for us, it was kind of more natural than the landscape trees. It was a natural business decision because it was part of our life and what we did. So it felt very natural, holistic.
Yeah, we had actually bought our first fruit trees from Bob Wells about 2 years before we actually bought the nursery and had them planted, and we're going to add more over time. So it was a natural fit. And in 2020, we moved up the business from Lindale up to our farm in Mineola.
It's a gigantic leap to go from a tech type job, which is, this podcast is a repeat of a repeat of a repeat. So many people are coming out of tech to get into this. So, this is nothing new, but that leap from, I have benefits and I have retirement and I have security and it's not weather dependent and all the things that we have to deal with now. It sounded like the growth of purchasing Bob Wells, more than made up to it, but I would imagine it was still just rolling the dice, or it had to have felt like it.
It really was.
Yeah, it's a leap of faith. knowing that there's a bigger plan that you're stepping into. And it's also a lot more work. It's a lot more physical work, and which is a good thing. But it's, different, a totally different lifestyle.
And then having to, I imagine, move the kids from school and move away from established friends. And I don't know if the family was there, but a move is always stressful in its own. But starting a business at the same time, there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in life that certainly upset the apple cart, between moving, changing jobs, having kids, marriages, divorces, all those things. And we certainly tried to pack as many of those into about a 3-year period as we possibly could.
And everything was right on budget, right?
Oh, of course. I always tell, one of the things I always tell people is, if you want to make a small fortune in the nursery business, is start off with a large fortune. The other is, you will always spend it'll always cost twice as much as you think it will.
The thing that got me when I started mine was I didn't account for the freight. Okay, this is going to cost this. This is going to cost this, and I go to place my orders, which, I know you guys have the worm boxes. I carried the same boxes, and the minimums were pretty high at the time, and I imagine they still are.
Right.
And then you had to pay freight on top of that. So, and it's not only stock that you have to, bring in, and then now adjust the prices that you were thinking, because you have to cover the freight, but your infrastructure cost as well, plus the freight for that. So you're just getting hit up left and right. And then like your parking lot, that's a huge parking lot. That's more than one load of gravel plus the tractor. I mean, it's just nonstop. When I went out there, I was like, you guys have done a ton of work, and I could see every pebble, and I don't even feel like I've gone and saw the whole thing, but I certainly appreciate how nice it is out there.
Yeah, the parking lot, the roads in the parking lot actually cost literally twice what I expected it was going to cost. And those are just things that you have to deal with in contingency for. But when we started our farm in 2014, when we started Sorelle Tree Farm, which was the original farm, it was a bare piece of ground. Every inch of PVC that went in the ground, every drip stake that went into a container, every tree that got potted, we did it. And
the pond.
Well.
We started from nothing.
Yeah, from literally nothing. And it's a lot of work. And then moving Bob's business to our business and consolidating the two also was a major leap. We moved over 20,000 trees in about 6 weeks.
Ugh. I was going to ask where his location was.
He was just east of Lindale off Highway 16.
It's pretty big move for a small community kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And with buying somebody else's place, there's an inherent, you'll get some of the returning customers. I would also imagine, and now it wasn't as convenient for him, and probably didn't retain all that may have been thought of.
True. Although I think the business has grown so much, we've actually probably well exceeded what we would have lost, what we did lose during the move. And we have actually found a lot of new customers who are interested in coming out because of what the new place is versus what the old place was.
Right.
It's not just a warehouse. It's a store. It's a place with, you can walk around and feel like you're out in the country and browse around. And it's not just a come in, grab what you want and leave.
Right. I don't think you'd want to. I mean, when I was there, and we'll be going back here in a couple of days, but it's just so expansive, and there's so much to see, and I felt like I just saw like 10% of it when I was there. But I'm looking forward to it.
Part of the vision when we decided to buy Bob Wells Nursery was that we would have demonstration gardens, and that was really important to me. I didn't want to just have a place where people come and get trees. I want to have a place that they can come and see how to plant their trees, what their trees should look like once they're planted, to, see the garden boxes full of things that we're planting in real time, to come and take a class and learn how to, be a better gardener, or, how to deal with their pests and diseases or prune their trees.
I was going to say, and I think Rachel's experience with gardening is the same thing every new gardener goes through. Anybody that wants to start a garden or has moved out to the country and started a homestead or even a small garden is wondering, where do I start and how do I do this? And the the struggle that she went through, the process it took to build up the soil and go from getting a few tomatoes the first year to actually getting a harvest of tomatoes the second or third or fourth year, and expanding that over to other items. She is able to relate that to our customers and say, I know what you're going through. I've been there. Let me help you.
That's the number one thing I wish we could do for everybody that calls in is like, look, the first year you're going to get stomped. That's just how it is. And nobody's expecting you to start a farm, which is starting a business, learning how to farm, learning how to do all of the things that all of us are faced with when doing that, plus dealing with Mother Nature, plus dealing with the labor and all these extra expenses that we just mentioned. You should expect for nothing to go right. And how do you encourage somebody while telling them that at the same time? The struggle's very real. I feel like we're the customer service team psychologist half the time. It's how much is that, and am I going to be okay, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. There's so much failure in growing things, but in the failure, there's so many lessons that you can learn, and you just take those lessons and you apply them to the next season. And each season you get better and better. You learn new things, and you eventually end up knowing what you're doing to some degree. There's so much to learn. It takes a while.
Well, and even with that expertise that you develop, somebody 100 miles north or south of you is going to do it completely different because of that climate.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's get into the nursery a little bit and just some of the design concepts that I think uniquely set it out. The number one thing that you see, or that I saw, was this very nice shop that's not just a store, but I immediately saw an event center, which is what you guys do, and I would love to go into. Did you foresee that going into it? Did you build that with the intention, or did you knew that you wanted to teach that as well? Was that something that was built into that plan?
Yeah, no, that was always a part of the plan. It was actually kind of the, what do you call it? I didn't want to have the business if we couldn't envelop the education and the demonstration side of it. And so when we thought about building the shop, part of it was, okay, we're going to put our shelves on wheels so that we can move them out of the way and set up chairs. We deliberately don't have our store overstocked with things so that we have room to host classes.
That's some of the details that I appreciate so much. Just knowing that, these shelves are going to have to be custom built, and even the shelves are very, very nice that you guys had custom did. And that's the type of thing that I think if all of us at a farmer's market had the intention of going into and making it not only functional, but looking nice, setting yourself apart. And that's what I really think separates the pros from the people just wondering why they don't have a line of people at their booth.
Right.
Thing.
Right.
Well, and I think that goes back to the idea that we wanted it to be more than just a place where we have customers come and buy something and leave. We wanted it to be a relationship that we have with our community, to be an asset to our community, and to bring gardeners together. One of the big visions that I had at the beginning of it was to have a seed exchange. And so we have a card catalog from a local university, and it's divided up, and local gardeners can save their seeds from their garden, and they bring them in and they can exchange with seeds from other people's garden. And once a year, we started this year, our first year, we're going to have a seed swap, and we're hoping that's an annual event. We had a great turnout this year, so I think it's going to continue to grow and be a good thing for our community.
And I think if anybody threw a dart at the map and hit Mineola, they'd be like, well, this is a very small town. How are you guys generating this much business? And I think it's important to note that in East Texas, you're just used to driving. If you had to drive an hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours for an event, you just know that that's what you have to do. I think one of the first conversations I had, I said, I would imagine you have people that this is their second location. Maybe they live in Dallas and, they're banging around on a homestead type fallback position or whatever you want to call it. And that was very much the case. I'm interested in your clientele mix and kind of where they're coming from.
So when I don't spend as much time with the retail customers as I used to, because I do handle our wholesale business. But on Saturdays, a lot of times I do get out and I like to walk the grounds and answer questions and talk to people. And the questions that I always ask are, have you been here before? How did you find us? And where did you come from? And every single weekend, we have folks that drive from Dallas, of course, but Shreveport, Southern Oklahoma, Madisonville, Kilgore, Central Texas, Belton. Waco, towns all over the place. They'll drive 2 or 3 hours to come to our place. And I think the real reason is because we offer two different things. One is we have products that they're looking for that you can't find anywhere else. And the second is the expertise to help them be successful after the purchase. You can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you can buy a Gala apple tree or a Fuji apple tree, and that's great. And if that's what the person needs or wants, go for it. But what about if you want a yellow golden delicious? And what if you want a pink lady? And what if you want to get a couple of crab apples to go with those so that you can have cross pollination? And oh, by the way, while you're there, maybe you want to pick up some pawpaws or something else. You can't find that stuff anywhere else.
Right.
And so we literally have people every weekend that will drive 2 to 4 hours to come visit just because we have exactly what they're looking for.
So, little side note, I told Rachel, did you tell him about sweet baby Carl coming? So Carl.
Oh, yes.
You know
what? That was me.
when you came up and we went to Carl's, so
Yeah.
I could show you the hoop house.
Yeah.
He'd just planted all these blackberries and blueberries and all this stuff. And when I told him, about the workshops, he's like, Bob Wells Nursery? And I was like, yeah. He says, that's where I got all my stuff from. They're like my favorite people right now. So I like that connection.
So when you
already.
said that, I got off the phone with you and I was like, I think I remember that. And then I opened up the drawer and there's his card. I was like, oh, that was me. He was talking to me. We do have so many retail customers and come through the door, and we have the market farmers, we have homesteaders, and all of them have such interesting stories. I can't keep track of all of them. I forget. But yes, he did, and he said, you should come up and see our garden, our market garden.
One of my favorite.
And we did.
Yeah.
We just didn't know.
One of my favorite phone calls was probably about a year ago. And a lady called me and she said, I want to make sure you're open the week between Christmas and New Year's. And I was like, yeah, we'll be here. Why? She said, well, my husband has promised me that we could take a trip up to your nursery for my birthday. And he's off between Christmas and New Year's. And I want to make sure you're open. We're going to drive from Mobile, Alabama.
That's awesome.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. I said, when you get here, you need to ask for me specifically. I want to come out and meet you because that's just crazy that's what you want to do for your birthday. So it was great. I got a chance to meet them and they were lovely folks and whatnot. But hopefully the second half of that is that when they do come in, they not only do they find what they're looking for, but they also gain knowledge and expertise that they can use in order to be successful. When people buy fruit trees, it's a big investment. They want production out of those.
And it's not an immediate return either. I mean, you got to wait a couple of seasons minimum.
Yeah.
And, something to add to that idea of what Ed's talking about is right now everybody's wanting to grow fruit trees. And so all of the big box stores, I mean, even grocery stores have gotten on the fruit tree train, and you can buy your, tree from a big box store or grocery store, or, wherever else. But it's not, that's what these, what we do, other small, agriculture companies, nurseries, this is what they're doing. Like, right. This is their business. It means something to them. It's not just, the dollar that they're looking after. It's like, it's their passion. It's what they do. And, for us, it's that you're getting more than just your apple tree, for a cheap price. You're getting a relationship, you're getting knowledge, you're getting, the experience that we have, it's there's a little more value to the transaction than just,
Well, this is something we come up. People ask us about, why are some of these things so cheap? at a grocery store or a big box store. It's because you have a national or a regional buyer that's buying hundreds of truckloads at a time, that's being distributed all over the place, often at a loss, just to bring people in the door. So they'll buy paint, hardware, or electrical, which really carries those stores. Or from a grocery store, whatever they're making their money off of, chips, cereal, soda pop, whatever the case may be, having that fruit tree out there, they're probably selling it at a loss anyway. So they don't care if they make the money on that because they're making so much on these other high margin items. So quit competing.
Yeah, and when the fad is over, when the excitement of it all calms down, they won't be carrying as much. They won't have as much of that inventory, but we will still be around,
right?
Because it's what we do, you know.
Well, and this was, for me, another very unique opportunity. I know we're talking about nurseries here, but I think specifically you guys are a nursery that caters to growers and market gardeners and anybody that's trying to make a living or sustaining themselves with this food. And that's very much a distinction from your typical ornamental nursery. So I would like to get into that, and I think you're going to have a better idea than I would have to where to even begin that conversation.
Yeah, and I think when we first started the tree farm back in 2014, the idea was that we were going to be a wholesale business only. And then when we bought out Bob Wells, it came with the retail component. And I think one of the things that Rachel and I identified right from the get-go is if we're going to grow any portion of our business, we want it to be the retail part of the business. We want to be able to connect with our customers. We want to be able to pass that knowledge on to people, educate them to be successful. And it's something that just that's not where we started. That's not the path we started out on, but that's the path that we've ended up on. And it's been great for us. And our wholesale business has grown tremendously, I think, because of that.
And I would imagine over the last, let me see, it was 2022. I would imagine over the last 2 years, it's just grown by leaps and bounds for various reasons as well.
Sure. We were hit pretty hard. We had no idea what was going to happen once COVID hit. And there was talk about, us possibly having to shut down for a while and things of that nature. And then all of a sudden it was like a bomb exploded. And there was our online business shot to the roof because everybody was at home with nothing to do. They were shopping online. They were buying things that they probably wouldn't have bought before. They wanted to get outside and do some gardening. There was a whole host of reasons, I think, that people were interested in buying edibles, plus the fact that they thought, well, maybe there's going to be a food shortage as well.
And just for saying, we're not talking about THC and cannabis edibles. We're talking about
correct edibles. Yeah, a little different.
Broccoli, cauliflower, green beans.
Oh, those.
And it's just kind of snowballed from there, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
So we also got hit in a way that we weren't prepared for, or I don't think we could have fully been prepared. You guys were originally set up as a wholesale nursery. You're dealing with a lot less clients. We are set up for market gardeners, small farmers, a little bit larger farmers. We're not used to like, hey, I need to start 2 trays of something. It's really hard, and then it's expensive for us to ship 2 trays because of how everything is packaged. And no matter what we do with it, the shipping is still outrageous because it's an oversized box. Anything 1020 is considered oversized. So unless you're buying volume, and unless you're buying anything over $49, and then we pay for the shipping, it's really hard for us to justify why some of these trays may be $6-7 if you're buying 2 at a time. And people weren't used to that. And we weren't used to the volume of calls on how do I start these mung beans, or how do I do this, or how do I do that? And it's like, we got resources and we got 10 other calls. So we were also going through that as well. And it's a different type of, we felt like everybody's life was on the line. We have to get this now. The grocery stores are closing down, just panic, panic, panic. Of course, everything leveled out to some degree, but now we still have that with the way the world is these days, and everybody feels it, even no matter where you fall in the spectrum of left or right or politics or whatever the case may be. It's still very prudent to be prepared.
Sure.
Some more than others, but I think a lot of people got hit hard during that time.
And let's face it, there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction with walking out into your backyard and pulling a peach off that tree and eating it right there. it's so much different and so much better than going and getting it at the grocery store.
Man, I was in that California trip I was at a couple of weeks ago. I was eating oranges right off the tree. Creation Family Farm is unbelievable. I mean, I've grown up here and in New Mexico my whole life. We don't have citrus for crying out loud. And there's grapefruit over here and an orange over here and a lemon over there. I love citrus, and I was in pretty good shape over there.
That's great.
Hopefully you didn't overdo it.
No, everything in moderation. Right down the middle.
Well, be careful with plums. That's all I'm going to say.
Noted. Now that you have gone through that, now that we've gone through that, we've made adjustments to kind of be ready. You guys are completely in season right now. And I do want to talk about seasonality of a nursery versus seasonality of a farm. Very, very different, very similar in some regards. With the event center, I'm just going to call it an event center. I don't know if you guys have a pet name for it. How are you adjusting what kind of classes you offer? And there's a lot of people that come to these. I was very pleasantly shocked at your attendance and outcome. So how are you going about classes? How are you going about getting speakers, that kind of thing?
So when we first bought the business, the plan was to begin classes like 2020, I guess. That was the first slated, set of classes, but everything shut down. So we couldn't, go through with the classes. And then, so this year is the first year that we've actually been able to begin them. We started in January with our seed swap, and we've had 4 classes since then. Yeah. And so my theory, or I guess my idea about the classes is I want to bring speakers in that know that are dedicated, that know what they're doing. So we had, Ed taught a beginner fruit tree class.
But I don't know what I'm doing, so.
Yeah. He taught that. Then we had a guy from Tyler that started a business called Harvest Gardens, and he installed edible landscape and prune trees, sprayed trees with all organic sprays. So we had him come and talk and teach everybody about that. And then this Saturday we have the manager of Painted Flower Farms. Her name is Lindsay Ebert, and she's going to talk about the benefits of native plants in our gardens, attracting pollinators to our gardens. So I think about things that, as a gardener, that I would find interesting, and then I want to bring those people in to talk and share their passion and wisdom with our customers.
I think we're in a good area. There's just so many people doing so many different things. I mean, we've got beekeepers and we've got bird watchers, and with a space like you guys have and a location that you have, it's very central to our particular region. I would think it's almost hard to curtail the amount of ideas that you would probably have. And then I also would imagine every time you have a class, people are like, oh, you should bring this person in and bring this person in.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. There's one particular YouTuber that he has a great channel, and a bunch of our customers just love him. And so we just had him in to teach about growing blackberries, and people were so excited about that because they love him. And it was just a place. It's nice to have a place where he probably doesn't want to have everybody out to his farm to do a class, but we have a neutral place where he can come and he can meet all these people that love him, and he can, pour out his wisdom, and we all benefit from it.
Well, people on this podcast have heard me say the word hospitality 1,000 times, and I think it's so important. When you go to your place, there's a big screened-in porch, there's chairs, there's a coffee maker, there's nice bathrooms, it's well lit, it's very clean. Like, it's a very, very inviting place. And just like you said, every farm I ever go to or go do a farm tour at, it's like, oh, excuse the mess, excuse the junk pile. It's like, I want you to have a mess. I want you to have a junk pile. It's okay that you haven't mowed your grass in 3 weeks. You're busy. We get it. But people are self-conscious of it. People also live down dirt roads, and that's their home. It's very hard to have these type of places at the farm itself. So to have that neutral spot, like you said, man, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And I think for some people too, it's a matter of privacy as well. Alan is a great guy. He knows a lot, but he also has his private life, and he wants to keep it that way. And I can understand and respect that as well.
Right. Well, let's, farmers deal with seasonality all the time. I was an ornamental nursery primarily. We did have a lot of vegetable starts and a lot of annual flowers. Being a tree farm, I'm curious to see where you imagine your year starting as far as production, or does it ever end? Kind of walk the farmers out there that are looking to buy fruit trees. Where does your year begin and end as far as transplant this bare root? We're going to start this seed. We're going to up pot. We're going to get ready for the season. We got to put everything to bed.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple different ways to answer that question. One is that from a sales standpoint, our busiest time is really January 1 through the end of May, revenue wise. That's when we do the most business. From a seasonality standpoint of the business, one thing that people need to realize is I spoke to a customer on the way here this morning who wanted to order some Ponca blackberries bare root, and I'm like, man, it's April 5th. We're past bare root season. Everything has leafed out. Everything, it's way too late. So for customers that want to think about ordering in bulk, they really need to be planning 6 to 8 to 12 months ahead of time. If they want to plant 100 blackberries next December or January, they need to be thinking about that now. Because by the time January rolls around, a lot of those berries are already going to be committed to other customers. Also, I think that a lot of people have kind of bought into the retail mentality that, March and April are the best time to plant. And that's not really the case. We suggest with our customers that you're going to plant in late October through February into March. Your kind of second next best level is through May. And then really anytime in June, July, and August is just not a good time. So
it's great if you want to kill half your trees.
Agreed.
Or if you want to babysit them.
Yeah.
Like for real.
So there's different pieces of the puzzle and different pieces of the equation I think about when I think of seasonality. But in general, we grow a small amount of the items that we sell today, and we're increasing that over time. And I don't want anybody to get the impression that we grow every single thing that we sell, because it's just not possible. But we generally plan for things that we're going to grow and take cuttings and plant seed in late fall into early winter. And then anything that we plant that's small generally will take anywhere from 6 to 12 months to grow out to a size that we can sell it. We are going to start doing some of our own grafting, which we have not done before. We're going to start doing a lot of our newer products that we inherited from Bob Wells from cuttings. And so we have a lot of plans for that. I guess kind of the last piece from a seasonality standpoint is I'm already working on our inventory for this time next year, a year out.
It's not just going to magically show up.
No. And I'll give you an example. We get our blueberries out of Louisiana, and we used to order them in September, and we would get them delivered in November to December. Well, the last 2 years, I've tried to order them in June, 3 months ahead of time, and they've been sold out. So this year, I ordered them in December of 2021 for them to come in November to December of 2022. So we have to plan a year ahead, because the spike in demand and the availability has gone off the charts.
Even when I had mine, the annuals, we would have to forecast not only what we would need for our landscaping jobs and almost pre-sell those in order, hey, this one's dedicated to this job, X, Y, Z, but then to have enough for the retail clients. So then we were talking to our growers in August for the following spring. So it is very similar, but with the rootstock and the trees and the bushes, I mean, it's got to be, just like you said, well over a year, because of the nature of how long those plants take to come on.
Yeah, and look, we're not a manufacturing plant making widgets here. You can't add a third shift, or you can't add another production line. When COVID hit and the demand spiked, we couldn't just turn on a lever and start production on a whole new set of items to sell. A lot of the trees that we sell are what are called dormant buds. They are 1.5 to 2 years old. In order to have them available in 2 years, they've got to be started today. So you can't just have these trees pop up overnight and be available.
Well, and when that happened, both with trees and with things on the shelf, and especially with seeds, I remember when the seed companies started allocating just to growers. I mean, people were losing their minds, and that only continued to fuel everybody's fears and everybody's concerns of everything that was happening. So, I could see it being a big deal with that spike in demand.
So we're planning now for next season. We do struggle with some of the same things that you struggled with in terms of having a nursery. How many do you have for your wholesale customers? How many do you have for retail? What's our growth going to be? There are a lot of factors that go into that. We're working on putting some processes in place to mitigate that and have better inventory control. We just talked about that on the way here.
Talked being the operative word.
Well, and it's always an educated guess when it comes down to it, right? I mean,
right. So, I don't know.
And with any two people running a business, there's a conservative one and let's go ahead and order a little bit more one, I imagine.
Yes. And I would even say that probably waffles back and forth. I wouldn't say that one of us is necessarily that way and one of us is the other. At different times, we play those roles.
Yeah.
And, we are, where you have a lot of wonderful qualities, Nick. Ed and I have different qualities.
Just so we're clear, she hasn't known me very well. So.
But you have the visionary and the creative, but you're also a doer, and then you have the technical side, and you have a lot of wonderful gifts. And Ed is he's a great businessman. He's very good at running our business. He's very good at seeing systems and processes that we need and putting those into place. And I'm more the visionary kind of gal, and more of the small scale, actually gardening in the gardening boxes and growing the fruit trees and, that's more my gift. So sometimes, we look at things in a different way. We have different perspectives that we're coming from. So we make a good team in that way because, 1 + 1 = 2, and it's usually pretty good. It works out pretty well, but it definitely is hard sometimes because we always don't see eye to eye or see the same thing when we're looking at a situation.
Right. Well, I mean, that happens with any marriage, any friendship, any company. I mean, we like to argue at Bootstrap all the time about what we should do, and at the end of the day, sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, but it's very much a group effort. And I think because of that group effort, sometimes one person will bend, sometimes the other will break. And sometimes we all just agree. But I think in the mix of all that, you come up with a better nursery, a better Bootstrap, a better farm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Our farm / nursery is a reflection of the both of us for sure.
I would agree with that.
How do people order from you? And I know that you guys ship. I want to talk about shipping for a while now, but jeez. But that's a whole nother animal. Let's talk about how people can get stuff from you, and B, all the realities of shipping, live, anything.
Sure.
And at least we're not doing chickens, right?
Right.
Oh.
She can tell you all about that with the eggs we are trying to hatch and that she recently ordered. Not all of them came through, unfortunately. So, from a retail customer perspective, the easiest way for our customers to purchase from us is simply going to our website and ordering online. In most cases, we can fit 2 trees into a box. So if somebody wanted to order an apple, a Gala and a Fuji apple, they can order those. We'll put them in a single box. We ship it out to you. It's flat rate shipping for $39.95. When it comes to smaller items like blackberries and blueberries, we can generally fit up to 6 in a box.
Is this bare root? Are we talking bare root?
No, we're talking about, we ship container material all year.
Got it.
So plants in a 5-gallon, most of our trees are going to be in a 5-gallon container. Most of our smaller sizes like blackberries, blueberries, raspberries are going to be in a 1-gallon container. So we do the great thing about shipping them in containers rooted out is that we can ship them all year long. A lot of the other mail order nurseries do ship just bare root, and so they're only available for a short amount of time during the year.
Got it.
Now, during bare root season, we do ship bare root as well, but we usually cut that off around March 15th. For customers that need a larger quantity of items, maybe they want 20 trees shipped to Sulphur Springs or Paris or wherever else, or maybe even 100 trees bare root because they're going to start a small orchard. Then we would generally ask them to just email us what they're looking for. We can work with them on figuring out what the shipping is going to look like, depending on what part of the country they're in and the freight and all those kind of things. But if they just want a couple of trees or even, 6, 8, or 10 trees, order them online. And usually we ship them out the next day.
Right. And there's some things, I think you're doing the same thing we're doing, whereas if it's closer location or if it's multiples or if it's a bigger order, we can adjust the shipping on the freight because we get a better deal and we can pass that down. Mm-hmm. So it's shipping 2 trees versus shipping a truckload. It may seem like, obviously it's more, but the price per container goes drastically down.
Of course. And I think one other thing people do need to understand is that, we have customers that will literally order 30 or 40 trees and ask us to ship them to Maryland, and we're glad to do that, and we will do that. But your freight cost is going to be extremely expensive.
Right.
And they just need to be aware of that.
We also have local delivery. So we have guys that have trailers. My dad helps. It's a real family business.
It is.
But we can deliver on, just a trailer too, if it's local enough.
Right. So. We have options, and we look for the lowest cost option to get the trees there in a timely manner and looking in good condition.
How can you alleviate people's concern about sending something? Stuff gets lost, things happen, damage happens every now and then with any box.
Yeah.
So what can the customer expect as far as what happens then?
So all of our packages that we ship out go out through FedEx Ground. If the package is damaged, we simply ask them to take pictures of the box and the contents so that we can open up the case with FedEx. And then we have policies in place for either reimbursement or store credit. Usually it's a store credit, so they can just reorder that, and then we get reimbursed from FedEx.
The next day, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, folks, this takes a long. If you do get reimbursed, it does take a very long process. So help them out and take those pictures. This.
We actually just got notified of a freight case that we submitted in one that we shipped back in October, and it's April. So yeah, it can take a while on some of the larger ones. We ship hundreds of packages a week. We're going to make mistakes here or there. Something's not going to arrive in good condition, or maybe you ordered a gala and a Fuji and you accidentally got 2 galas. Just contact us, let us know. We want to make sure that we get it right for you, and we will do our best to make sure that happens. But in terms of the health of the tree, really the only time we get concerned about shipping is like around July and August when it's extremely hot outside. There are certain products that we actually will not ship during that time of year,
right,
or there may be certain locations that we hold off on shipping because we know that there's a chance that box is going to get too hot and that plant's not going to make it. However, in most cases, the way we package the tree and the way we bundle them, and the roots are in soil. That soil is going to be watered before it's shipped. It's going to be wrapped in plastic. Most of the trees can easily survive in a box for a week without any trouble.
Just like it would in the ground if it didn't rain for a week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just the heat of the summer that sometimes we have a real.
And then there's some illegalities, like you can't ship citrus out of state. Is that correct?
Correct. There's we can't ship citrus out of the state of Texas. There's federal quarantine on citrus in the state of Texas. We can't ship persimmons for some reason to California. We can't ship grapevines to New York. Why that is, I have no idea, but we try to follow the rules as best we can. Florida and all of the western mountain states, from basically New Mexico up to Montana, that area, and west, California, Oregon, Utah, all those western states, we also are required to treat those trees and provide a phytosanitary certificate for those shipments as well.
And state of Texas, I'm at our nursery, we had to have, I think 4 licenses for all the stuff we're doing, all require its own person to come out and check the boxes kind of thing. So that's another thing you have to build into your administration of it, is just allowing time for, we know that the chemical applicator license guy is going to come. We know that the nursery and landscape folks are going to come, and just make sure, everything isn't covered with aphids that we're shipping up out of here. And that's what they're there for. They're there to prevent Home Depot getting a load of stuff in that's bad.
Right. Yeah, they want to try to quarantine some of the pests, especially fire ants, which is the big problem here in Texas. They don't want the spread of fire ants to other non-fire ant zones.
Well, I get that.
Yeah, I do too, 100%.
So other things that you guys have to deal with, similar to farms or any other businesses, you guys do a very specialty thing. People are coming to you for knowledge. You have to have labor. You can't do it all. Finding somebody that knows what they're talking about, that is actually going to work out and that can handle probably a little bit of physicality in the work, and being able to adjust to answering very, very easy questions to sometimes, I would imagine, some very, very technical questions. So hiring labor, man, how are you guys handling it?
It's very difficult. Right now, if you come to our nursery, I will be at the front desk answering your questions along with my daughters. It's hard. It's really hard to find, especially with what we do, finding someone, they have to actually care about it, in order, you have to learn. There's a lot to learn, and so finding someone that actually cares and wants to show up to work every day and answer these questions and be patient with the customers and, build relationships and water the gardens in the dead of summer and, help repotting things and whatever there is to do,
Well, and
it's a difficult thing. For
us, we also have to interpret, okay, this person may live in sandy soil or clay soil, whether the different amendments. You have to really, you have to know the questions to ask the person to get the true picture of why something may or not work, or may not even be good for their area.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot. It's like you were saying earlier about, regionality in gardening. There's a lot of differences in the way you would plant a tree in East Texas versus Frisco, Texas, where we lived before. We couldn't plant our own trees in Frisco because we couldn't get the shovel into the clay. We had to hire somebody to do that. But, you have different problems. The clay holds the water. The sand doesn't,
We have a lot of flood zones here.
Yeah, you have to amend both soils, but with different things. And when you're talking to your customer, you have to know the right questions. And then you have to be willing to, if you don't know the answer, kind of get creative in finding it with them. And,
And then you have to be an entomologist on top of that.
And then that's right. That's right. But it is hard to find, we love what we do. So when we're up there, we feel that way about it and we give 100%. But finding employees that feel the same way is, a little bit more difficult.
It's a very unique skill set that we require in our business. And I would say it's also a very physical business as well. I think a lot of folks that want to work at a nursery, they like being outdoors, they like gardening, and those things are all fine and dandy. But when you're out there and it's 95 degrees and you have got to move these trees from here over to there, it's a different set of circumstances.
Or it's a rainy spring week.
Cold, rainy day, yeah.
Just wet feet all day, every day. Mm-hmm. They're going to be wet from the watering anyway, but but you start doing that with the trampling, Let's talk about the labor issue that all nurseries face, where it's 100 miles an hour from in the spring. I always felt like we got super busy 1st of March to Mother's Day. And after Mother's Day, it dropped off a cliff. Everybody had planted what they were going to plant. Everybody bought their Mother's Day stuff. And there is nothing happening except for waiting for fruit to come to bear. So no, it doesn't seem to me like anybody ever did anything after the fact, which is why we put the farm in at the same time to give ourselves something to do.
Yeah.
We didn't want to get bored. But you have to have all this labor in the spring, and then you're having to reduce hours. You're maybe having to let people go. You're maybe going, okay, you were seasonal and we love you, but scoot on. It's time. We'll see you in the fall kind of thing, or we'll see you next spring. it's a very, very unique circumstance that I think a lot of farmers have, where it's like, we got to plant. Okay, now we're just hanging back for a couple of months and doing some weeding that nobody wants to do, and then we got to harvest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not 40 hours a week. It's not 9 to 5. It's whenever and however.
Yeah. It's a struggle for anybody in the farming business or in the nursery business because of the seasonality. And we struggled at first because we have good employees that we really like and appreciate, and we didn't want to have to let them go after the busy season. And so we took a chance last year, and there were a handful of folks that we decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and keep them on for the entire year, and it worked out really well for us. Now, there are a handful of other folks that are seasonal, and we let them know up front. But it's hard to find the people that have expertise and that have some knowledge and value add as an employee that are only willing to work seasonally. Everybody needs to earn an income all year, not just for the 5 months that we're busy.
Right.
A lot of farms, especially large commercial farms, a lot of large commercial growers, they've gone to hiring the visa folks. It just seems like it's the path of least resistance. We have not done that. We have been blessed that from a labor standpoint, we've been able to find good people and keep them. And so far, the seasonality of it hasn't been a problem. I think with the skilled staff that Rachel needs up front in the store, that's where the real trouble has been, is finding people who can intelligently talk with a customer, answer their questions, make good recommendations, that only want to work part-time or part of the year.
I always felt like people would come in and they would bring a Southern Living magazine and be, I want this. I'm like, none of that grows here. This was filmed in Virginia, so let's back up a little bit. And then I also felt like, and I'm sure you had the same, where people will come in. I want to get your face reaction on this one. People will come in. I have this problem. What do I do? And you give them the solution and you tell them how to calibrate the water or whatever the case may be. And they go like, well, yeah, but I read that Neil Sperry did X, Y, and Z and it was completely off. There's a no-win situation. So why'd you even come in if you're just going to go buy some vinegar here?
You just want to argue about this? No, we totally have that. We have, it's, people are funny. They come in with all kinds of different ideas.
That was a nice way to say it.
And, I always start off, I'm not an expert on everything. I don't know everything. So I'm always willing to learn. And we have some customers that know so much and I learn so much from. But it's interesting, trying to meet the needs of everybody. When customers come in and say, I want to start an orchard, or can you really grow fruit trees in Texas, And
you look behind you and there's 1,000 fruit trees.
And I will say this, when we first started growing food, fruit trees, gardening, all of the neighbors around us or the people, that we talk to, they would say, oh, you can't garden in Texas. Nothing grows here. There's too many pests and diseases, And I was just determined to prove them wrong. I'm like, I will do this, and I did. But it is harder. It's hard. We don't live in California. We don't live up north and in a place where it's a little bit easier to grow. We do live in Texas. So when customers come in and they show me the picture of the orchard and this is what I want, the thing I always say is, yes, you can grow fruit trees. You just have to adjust your expectations. You can have a wonderful garden, but everything might not be perfect. You're going to struggle with diseases and pests, and you're going to have to figure out how to solve for that. And you're going to have to be okay with imperfect fruit. Sometimes every once in a while you might get the perfect peaches off your tree. And then one year you might have, brown spot or, it's just not always going to be exactly.
And have fun doing it.
And have fun doing it. And if you've got apple rust on your apples, pick them, cut it off, and make apple butter with the rest of it and apple pie. you have to be willing to, adjust your expectations and go with the flow.
Yeah, running a nursery, again, we go back to you have to be a counselor to folks.
Yes.
And hear the stories about what their dad did and what their grandpa did. And,
and what Neil Sperry says or Howard Garrett.
Oh, yeah, man, those guys.
And the thing I told people when we did the Orchard 101 class a few weeks ago, when it comes to planting a tree, you can go on the internet and find 100 different opinions.
Right.
And I'm not saying that our way or our recommendation is the way, the only way, or the right way, but it's the way that we believe works and is going to provide a good outcome for our customers. I just have to say one of the best questions we get is how many gallons of water per week per tree? And I'm like, well, that's kind of like asking me how many calories does a person need in a day? Well, are they 4 years old or are they 50 years old? Are they trying to gain weight or lose weight? Do they exercise every day or do they sit at home and watch TV all day? There's no pat answer for that. And
is your soil sandy or is it going to hold the water?
Exactly.
Yeah. Has it rained all week or not?
Right. Are we in the middle of December when the tree's dormant or are we in the middle of August?
Do you have your trees mulched or are they just out there?
You have to look at your plants, look at your trees. They will tell you if they need water, that you'll start to see the signs, leaves turning yellow, leaves sagging, all those kind of things. And so it is.
Just stick your finger in the soil.
Stick your finger in the soil.
Yeah. I mean, just that's the thing that I think a lot of people want to do is everybody needs a certain level of automation to get everything done. I mean, our grow racks are a prime example of that.
Sure.
But if you're not stepping foot on the farm, mindfully looking at things, paying attention, if, a lot of people, this is their side hustle and they're doing the family thing and the full-time job thing. And this is, in between the hours of who knows and dark, it's hard to do it all. Let's take some responsibility as a farmer to go, I've taken this on. I'm going to have to make an adjustment somewhere or be okay with not every crop is going to be perfect and next year will be better. Next planting season will be better. It's struggle's real on that one.
Yeah, most definitely.
The other thing I think is unique to nurseries is not only do you have to have the stock, but then you have to have the supporting elements like the bag goods, some dirt, some nutrients. You have to, you don't want people like having to come to your place and then having to go somewhere else. Handling bad goods is a very expensive and heavy and laborious and oftentimes loss because of damage on bad goods. I guess for us, it was always, we never wanted to carry mulch and soil because of all those reasons. It was heavy to get in, expensive to happen. A bag is forever tearing apart, and you can only use so much on your property. And then when you need it, you don't have any.
And it has to be covered,
right?
Like if you're going to carry it the right way, and not just have it laying out for the elements to destroy. You need to have it in a covered place, and that's a thing in itself,
Yeah, more expense.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
So. We do try to provide a wide variety of products that are for customers that are going to shop in the store, whether it's soil amendments and compost and things of that nature, along with organic sprays and fungicides and all those kind of things. We don't want to tell them, oh, this is what you need, this is what you should be doing, this is the program you need to have in place, and then have to go send them off somewhere else to get it. So we do carry those things, and it's been a learning curve for us because neither one of us have come from a retail store background as well.
Right.
Yeah, trying to source it and get it for a price where we can actually resell it, and it's worth it for us to carry it.
I mean, even something like gloves. I mean, you can buy a $2 glove or $25 pair of glove. Which one do you stock? Where do you get it from? What material is it?
And that's kind of where, from the beginning, we kind of decided it was important for us to carry quality. Whatever we carry, we want it to be nice. We may not turn over as much, but we don't want to carry a bunch of junk in our store or our shop. We want it to be high quality.
Well, I think we are going to partner up. We're putting 20 by 50 Gothic high tunnel at your place. And partly, for your demonstration garden and for your workshops, and then partly we're going to partner up together and do a workshop. I have a date down, subject to change by the time this comes out, but the date I have down is June 11th, and what we're thinking about doing is just an introduction to hoop houses, what it's actually like to build one, work in it, how to plan for it, maybe some crop selection type things, and just make about a half to 3/4 of a day of it on the 11th. That's a Saturday in June. So I think those will come out. We'll have about a month to go before that's out. So there will be a link at the bottom so you can get yourself a ticket. So how many people do you think we can have at the inside there and fit comfortably?
I think around 50. I think that's the number. What do you think?
I think that sounds great.
Well, we will have that. I'm looking forward to it.
We're excited as well.
Yes, I think it's going to be a great time.
And the whole reason you're up here today is you're picking up your first load of Bootstrap Farmer stuff that you're going to retail at the nursery.
So excited about bringing the quality of Bootstrap Farmer, items to our customers. Some of them have never heard of you. Some of them buy stuff from you regularly, and to be able to come into the shop and see what you're doing, that's going to go a long way with our customers. It's good.
I'm so happy that you guys came up that weekend. I think it was a Sunday a couple of times ago. You guys saw the warehouse. You saw it right before it got bonkers. Like right now, like when you go today, what you saw then, it's unbelievable. So for everybody else out there, I'd love to hear your takeaway from our madness that we had at the warehouse.
Oh gosh, well, we could barely walk through there.
We're out of space.
Yes, you need more room. Yeah.
It was not what I expected. I guess I didn't really know quite what to expect. I figured it was going to be a little bit more small town kind of operation. But yes, the amount of inventory that you guys had, the amount of packages that you guys ship on a daily to weekly basis was pretty amazing. And what I really liked was being able to look at some of the products and put our hands on them and know what they're like before we actually brought them in the store.
Impressed by the quality. Yeah. That I've never used any of your stuff before. I mean, I've heard of you in different YouTube videos. People would say, "Oh, I got this from Bootstrap Farmer" or whatever, but I wasn't familiar in having experience using them. So it's the quality is just I've not seen that in the agriculture industry.
Well, it kind of fell on me to decide what you were going to carry, and I had to go. All right, what would I have done if I know everything that I knew? And I came down and I saw the space that we had to work with, and I think we decided on 2 of the 8-foot shelves put together. And we talked about bigger things like landscape fabric and pre-rolls of greenhouse plastic and that kind of thing. I don't think we're going to do plastic right away, but for sure some of the landscape fabric. And we're not doing anything in like gigantic quantities for you guys just yet because we need to see how it goes. Right. I don't want to slam you guys with a bunch of inventory. But yeah, it's we're doing this with Piper up in Sherman. Now we're going to do it with you guys. I would be very uneasy about somebody in Seattle calling us and like, "Hey, we want to carry your stuff on a retail basis." Like, I don't know. We're trying to figure this part out, and thankfully we're doing it with some neighbors just down the road, and I think it's a good trial run for us.
Yeah, and we just feel excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, one of the biggest questions that we get from our customers is, "Where can I get a greenhouse?" Yeah. And that question right there is tough for us because we're buying huge 30 by 100 commercial grade greenhouses that have to stand up to, snow, sleet, wind, rain, hail, all the above.
And now you can get that here, right down the road.
And yes, and it's kind of like, okay, now we have a place where they can get that, but they don't have to invest in a 30 by 100.
Right.
They can invest in a 10 by 20 or a 20 by 40 or whatever, something that's more manageable for the home grower or the market gardener that doesn't want to put the investment in growing in getting a cold frame or a hoop house that is the size and requirements that we need. So for us to be able to recommend and refer our customers to to something that we can stand behind and that we know and can appreciate is gonna hold up for them, it was of tremendous importance to us.
Yeah, and I guess that is one thing. We didn't expect the hoop houses to be quite so well made. I mean, for residential, the stuff that we've seen, I had a friend put one up and it blew off in the first storm. The stuff that we've seen just is not real practical, for long-term use to, handle all the different weather, that we have here in Texas. So when people ask us, we're really reticent to give them any kind of direction because we didn't know. And that's what prompted me to, reach out to you, because we had heard from another customer that you guys had some really heavy duty hoop houses. And so when we got to go out to Carl's farm and see it, it was pleasantly surprising that it was so
and
well
as
made.
this relationship builds, we can get you to our fabricators and you can meet all those girls and guys and see who actually puts these things together. And I mean, you saw it all combining together at the warehouse, but to see it actually getting made, I can't tell you how it's just a very satisfying feeling to see this go from paper to watching it get made to watching it put together. And now I just got back from California. I visited 3 of our hoop houses out there to see that in use there and all over the country. It's pretty amazing. So I'd like for you guys to see that eventually. Maybe we'll go to Dallas for a fun day or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's pretty much all I had. That was a lot. It was a lot to cover. We've got some exciting stuff coming up, and I definitely think we'll be sitting down again, of course, as time continues. But again, June 11th, link is going to be down below, and we'll fill that thing up with the first 50 folks. And this is going to come out in about 3 weeks. So buckle up.
Wonderful. We're excited about it.
All right. Thanks for coming out, and making the drive, and
our pleasure.
Let's go eat lunch.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, with that.
I think it's going to fill it